I never thought, not even once in my entire life, that a day would come when I would sit alone in my own house, waiting for anyone, to remember that I exist. Not strangers, not outsiders, but my own family. If you are listening to my voice right now, I want you to stay with me till the end, because what I went through is not just my story. It is the story of so many people who suffer in silence. And if you believe that no one deserves to be forgotten, no one deserves to be left behind, then please subscribe to this channel, because stories like mine need to be heard. There was a time when my life was completely different. My house was not silent like this. It was full of sounds, of laughter, of conversations, of life. Every morning, I would wake up early, prepare breakfast, call my children, and my husband would sit beside me, smiling. We didn't have everything, but we had enough. Enough love, enough respect, enough happiness. My husband, he was not a rich man, but he had a big heart. He respected me. He valued me. He made me feel like I mattered. And that feeling is more valuable than anything in this world. We spent years building our life together, slowly, carefully, with sacrifices that no one ever sees. There were nights when I stayed awake, taking care of the children when they were sick. There were days when I ate less so they could eat more. There were times when I hid my own pain just to keep everyone else happy, because that's what a mother does. She gives and gives and gives without expecting anything in return. But maybe that was my mistake, because I expected nothing. And in the end, I received nothing. As my children grew older, things began to change. At first, it was small. Very small. They would call less often, visit less frequently, stay for shorter periods. And I told myself, they are busy. They have responsibilities. They have their own lives now. And I believed it, because a mother always believes her children, even when the truth is right in front of her. Slowly, those small changes became big. Calls became rare. Visits almost stopped. And then one day, everything became silent. No calls. No messages. No footsteps at the door. Just silence. The kind of silence that slowly breaks you from the inside. I remember one particular day very clearly. I woke up feeling weak. My body didn't feel right. There was a heaviness, a strange weakness that I couldn't explain. At first, I ignored it. I thought it will pass, but it didn't. Instead, it got worse. Standing became difficult. Walking felt like a struggle. Even holding a glass of water made my hands shake. And for the first time in many years, I felt afraid. Not of illness. Not of pain, but of being alone. In that moment, I picked up my phone. My hands were trembling. I called my son. The phone rang and rang and rang, but he didn't answer. I tried again. And again and again, each time, hoping that this time he will pick up, but he didn't. I stared at the phone for a long time. Waiting. Hoping. Praying. But the screen stayed silent. And in that moment, something inside me broke. Not loudly. Not suddenly, but slowly, deeply. That night, I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to my own breathing, feeling the emptiness around me. And I asked myself, if something happens to me tonight, will anyone even know? That question stayed with me. It didn't leave me. The next morning, I forced myself to get up. Holding onto the wall, step by step, slowly, Painfully, I walked to the kitchen. I made tea. Even lifting the cup felt heavy. I sat there, alone holding that cup, and I realized this is what my life had become. Days passed like this. One day, then another, then another. All the same. No calls. No visits. No one asking, "Are you okay?" Until one day, there was a knock on my door. A loud knock. Sudden. Unexpected. My heart started beating fast. For a moment, I felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, they came. I walked towards the door, slowly, my heart full of expectation, and opened it. But it wasn't them. It was a stranger, a man I had never seen before. He looked at me, carefully, almost like he was observing me. Then he asked, "Are you living here alone?" I nodded. He looked around the house, as if inspecting it. Then he said something that I will never forget. "This house is in your name, right?" I felt confused. Why was he asking this? Before I could answer, he said, "Your son sent me." My heart stopped. Everything inside me froze. My son. He nodded. Double quotes. He said, "You might want to sell this house." In that moment, everything became clear. The silence, the absence. The distance. It was never about being busy. It was never about life. It was about this house. Just this house. I slowly closed the door. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just sat down. Quietly. Because some pain is too deep for tears. That day, something inside me changed forever. I stopped waiting. I stopped hoping. I stopped expecting. Because the truth was finally clear. No one was coming. No one cared. And if I didn't stand for myself, no one ever would. That night, I made a decision. A decision that gave me strength. I looked around my house, the walls, the memories, the life I had built with my own hands. And I said to myself, I will not die like this. I will not be forgotten. I will not be treated like I am nothing. Because I was not nothing. I was a mother. I was a woman who gave everything. And now it was time to take something back. To take back my life. To take back my dignity. The next day, I did something different. Something I had not done in years. I stepped outside, not just to sit, not just to watch, but to live. At first, it felt strange. The world felt unfamiliar, like I didn't belong in it anymore. But slowly, I started noticing things. The sounds. The people, the small details of life. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something. Not sadness. Not emptiness, but a small, quiet strength. That strength changed everything. And what happened after that? No one could have imagined. Not even me. And from that day, something inside me slowly started to change. Not suddenly, not like a miracle, but quietly, like a small light that begins to glow in darkness. For years, I had lived inside those walls, waiting for someone to come and save me, waiting for voice, waiting for footsteps, waiting for love. But now, I understood something important. No one was coming. And maybe they were never supposed to. The next morning, I woke up early again. But this time, it felt different. The same room, the same walls, the same silence. But something inside me had changed. I got up slowly, but with a little more strength than before. I went to the kitchen, made tea, and instead of sitting alone, I opened the door. I stepped outside. The air felt different. Fresh. Alive. For the first time in years. I wasn't just watching life. I was stepping into it. Dot at first. I didn't know where to go. Dot I just walked. Slowly, carefully, observing everything around me. Dot people were busy, rushing, talking, living their lives. And I realized life had been moving on all this time without me. Dot, but now I had a choice. Dot to stay behind or to move forward. That day, I chose to move forward. I walked to the small park nearby, a place I had seen many times from a distance, but never truly visited. Dot there were people sitting on benches, children playing, some elderly people, just like me. I hesitated for a moment. Then slowly, I sat down on an empty bench. For a few minutes, I said nothing. I just watched. Dot listened. Dot felt. Dot, and then someone sat beside me. Dot an old woman. She looked at me and smiled. A simple smile, but it felt warm. First time here? She asked. Dot I nodded. Dot double quotes. Yes. She laughed softly. I come here every day, she said. We started talking, slowly at first, then more openly. She told me about her life, about her children, who lived far away. Dot about her loneliness. Dot about how she found comfort in coming here every day. Dot, and as I listened to her, I realized something deeply. I was not the only one. There were many like me, people who were left behind, people who were forgotten, people who were silently living with pain. That realization didn't make me sad. Dot it made me feel connected. For the first time in a long time, I felt understood. From that day, I started going to the park regularly. Dot every morning, and sometimes in the evening too. I met more people. Some talked, some just smiled. But even those small interactions began to fill the emptiness inside me. Dot days passed, and slowly, my life started changing. I wasn't waiting anymore. I wasn't counting days or expecting calls. I was living. One evening, I decided to do something new. I bought some sweets and took them to the park. Dot I shared them with the people I had started recognizing. We sat together, talked, laughed, and for a moment, it felt like I had found something I had lost years ago. Dot belonging. Dot not from blood, but from connection. Dot not from obligation, but from kindness. But life has a strange way of testing your strength. Dot just when you start feeling better, it reminds you of your past. One afternoon, I returned home from the park. I was tired, but peaceful. Dot as I entered the house, I noticed something unusual. Dot the door was slightly open. Dot my heart skipped a beat. I was sure I had locked it. Slowly, carefully, I pushed the door open. Dot everything inside looked normal. Dot nothing seemed missing, but something felt wrong. I walked further inside, and then I saw it, a paper placed on the table. I picked it up, my hands slightly shaking. Dot it was a legal notice. Dot my breath stopped. Dot it was from my son. He had started a process to claim the house. For a moment, I couldn't understand what I was reading. Dot my eyes moved over the words again and again, hoping I was mistaken. But I wasn't. Dot it was real. He wasn't just distant. He wasn't just absent. He was now trying to take everything I had left. I sat down slowly. The room felt heavy. Dot the silence returned. But this time, it felt different. Dot not empty. Dot not helpless, but tense. Dot like something inside me was preparing to fight. For a few minutes, I just sat there. Dot thinking. Dot remembering. Dot feeling. Dot, and then I stood up. Dot not slowly, not weakly, but with strength, because something had changed. I was not the same person anymore. I was not the woman who waited, who cried, who hoped. I was someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who had nothing left to lose. The next day, I went out again, but not to the park. This time, I went somewhere else. Somewhere I had never imagined going before. A lawyer's office. I walked in, slowly, but with determination. For the first time in my life, I was not asking for help. I was taking control. I explained everything, every detail, every moment. The silence, the absence, the notice. The lawyer listened carefully. Then he said something that gave me strength. You have rights. That sentence felt powerful. Because for so long, I had forgotten that I mattered, that I had a voice, that I had rights. From that day, I stopped being afraid. I started preparing. Not for revenge, but for justice. Because sometimes standing for yourself is the strongest thing you can do. Days passed, and slowly, a new chapter of my life began. One where I was not a victim. One where I was not alone. One where I was strong. And what happened next changed everything. Once again. Asterisk. And what happened next was something I never imagined in my life. For the first time, I was not waiting for someone to save me. I was standing up for myself. Days passed, and the legal process started moving forward. It was not easy. There were papers, meetings, questions, things I had never dealt with before. But this time, I didn't feel weak because I knew I was right. Every time I felt tired, every time fear tried to return, I reminded myself of those nights. The nights when I was alone, the days when I called and no one answered. And that gave me strength. One day, I received a message. My son wanted to meet me. For a moment, my hands froze. The same feeling, the same memories, everything came back. But this time, I was not the same person. I agreed to meet him, not as a helpless mother, but as someone who had found her strength. We met at my house, the same house where everything had happened. He walked in. Slowly, he looked around, just like he did before. But this time, I didn't feel anything. No pain. No hope. No expectation. Just calmness. He sat down, and for a moment, there was silence. Then he spoke. Amy, why are you doing this? His voice was different. Not caring. Not loving, but frustrated. I looked at him and said calmly, doing what? He said, the case, the lawyer, all this. For a moment, I just looked at him. Then I said, when I needed you, where were you? He stayed silent. I continued, when I was sick, did you come? When I called you, did you answer? When I waited for you, did you show up? Each question felt heavier than the last. He lowered his eyes. But I didn't stop. For years, I was alone. For years, I waited. For years, I believed you would come back. My voice was not loud. But it carried truth. Then I said something that changed everything. But you didn't come for me. You came for this house. Silence filled the room. He had no answer. After a few seconds, he tried to speak again. Amy, it's not like that. But this time, I didn't let him finish. Then what is it like? My voice was still calm, but strong. Because I was no longer afraid, he sighed and said, I just want what's best. I interrupted him again. What's best for who? For the first time, he had nothing to say because the truth was already clear. Then I leaned back and spoke slowly. This house is not just walls. It is my life. It is my memories. It is everything I have left. And I will not give it away to someone who was never there for me. Those words were not spoken in anger. They were spoken with clarity, with strength, with self-respect. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something in his eyes, not love, not care, but realization. Realization that I was no longer the same, that I would not break, that I would not give in. After a long silence, he stood up. Emmy, I'm sorry. I looked at him, and for the first time, I truly understood something. Sometimes, sorry comes too late. I nodded. I forgive you. But forgiveness does not mean I forget. And it does not mean I give up my life. He stood there for a moment, then slowly walked towards the door. Before leaving, he turned back and said quietly, I didn't realize how much I hurt you. I didn't reply because some realizations don't need answers. He left, and just like that, a chapter of my life ended. But something else began. Something stronger. Something better. Days passed, and the case was resolved. The house stayed mine. My life stayed mine. And for the first time, I felt something I had never truly felt before. Freedom. Not from people, but from expectations, from waiting, from pain. I returned to my routine. The park, the people, the small moments. But now, everything felt different. Because I was different. I was no longer invisible. I was no longer forgotten. I had found my place again, not in someone else's life, but in my own. One evening, I sat in the park, watching the sunset, the same place where my journey had started, the same bench where I once sat in silence. But now, I was smiling because I understood something that I wish everyone could understand. Sometimes, the people you lose were never truly yours. And sometimes, losing them is what saves you. Family is not always blood. Family is not always who you expect. Family is who stays, who cares, who shows up when no one else does. If you are listening to my story, please remember this. Don't ignore the people around you. Don't assume they are okay just because they are quiet, because silence often hides the deepest pain. And sometimes a little kindness can save a life. If my story touched your heart, please subscribe to this channel because there are many stories that are still waiting to be heard.